In conclusion, the most Christmas movie is the movie with factually, mathematically, the most Christmas.
I hear you. I see where you're coming from. However, counterpoint, a Christmas movie need not invoke the trappings of Christmas or even the spirit of Christmas, and that's why Spring Breakers is the most Christmas movie.
I feel like you're stretching things a little thin with that one. Maybe a skosh thin. Thinner than the last smear of frosting on the final gingerbread man, you know, like after you're basically out of icing but you still only have one cookie left. Dan, it's that thin.
Okay, sure, but consider for a moment that what truly defines a Christmas movie isn't the tinsel or reindeer, the fir trees or plum pudding, charity, carols, or ghosts of Christmas past. A Christmas movie is a movie that we watch at Christmas, that film that we put on every year because it brings us together.
You know, that's a really beautiful point, Dan.
Thanks. I stole it from your video. What is a Christmas movie? Nobody knows. Not really. And I'm not being snide, because at the root of it, a Christmas movie is defined by social consensus. And social consensus is a nebulous thing, constantly shifting as opinions push and pull at it. A comprehensive taxonomy of Christmas movies is impossible. It can't be done. Even if they appear to be as pristine and unimpeachable as this, a bi-axis grid sorting movies along the axes of candy cane and Christmas spirit, organized from purist to radical. The target is constantly shifting. You can try, but you'll never fully capture the breadth of what people treat as a Christmas movie. I know it seems unbelievable that a system as superficially flawless as the 3x3 morality grid could actually be lacking, but it's true. Even this system, brilliant, inspired, divine as it may be, will still generate pointless, circular Twitter arguments about movies at the fringes. Don't forget to tag your arguments with the hashtag CandyCaneRadical. The trick is that you'll never fully capture the breadth of what people treat as a Christmas movie, because it's not just a categorization exercise. You're not just tracking wild reindeer who are otherwise oblivious to the efforts and intentions of humans, you're asking questions of humans, and humans are aware of the efforts and intentions of humans. It's actually an opposed system, and some of the participants are deliberately trying to confuse the process. In the spirit of Christmas, we can illustrate this using toys. Some competitive games, like Magic the Gathering or League of Legends, use a draft format, where opponents take turns selecting options from a finite pool. This format opens up a strategy called counterpicking, where you take an option not strictly because it's something you want, but because of how it will impact the choices available to the opponent. Maybe it's strong against something they've chosen, or maybe it combos well with their pick, and so you take it purely so they can't, even if you have no intention of using it. It is a response not to the immediate state of the game, but to the idea of the game itself, a decision on making decisions. I bring it up just to illustrate that people are aware that they're being asked questions, that their answers will potentially impact outcomes. When we are asked, "What's your favorite Christmas movie?" we are conscious of the fact that there are stereotypical answers, that our answers will reflect on our sensibilities, and that other people will potentially react to our pick. And this meta-knowledge impacts the way that we pick our answers. Some people give answers that are most true to them, some people give answers that they think others want to hear, and some people give answers that they believe will confound the question. It is a counterpick, a meta decision, choosing something that technically adheres to the taxonomy, but in subversive, if not deliberately tenuous ways, knowing that the answers are ultimately tautological. Die Hard has become the example here. It is a story that takes place at Christmas because it makes sense within the story for the criminals to do their heist when everyone is busy with Christmas Eve, but otherwise has little to do with Christmas. It wasn't even considered to be a defining element of the film's identity, as the film was originally released in July. Also, the B-plot is about a cop who killed a kid, harnessing the power of Christmas to regain the confidence to shoot people again? Is that weird? That feels weird. In fact, the fascination with whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie itself, an annual argument at this point, is largely a product of the last decade. So when asked, what's your favorite Christmas movie? You answer, oh, it's Die Hard, because as an answer, it's funny. The person gets offended. A Christmas movie is wholesome, but you picked something full of cussing and violence. You scamp. Funny thing is, it's worked. Christmas movies defy comprehensive classification because they are self-defining. Christmas movies are the movies people say are Christmas movies. And thus, if enough people say Die Hard is their favorite Christmas movie, then it is a Christmas movie. This is the unending taxonomic negotiation that makes a comprehensive definition impossible. Some people will always want to trick the system. But this raises an important question. Should these kinds of counterpicks be excluded? Should we go out of our way to exclude Die Hard because we know why people are picking it? On one hand, they meet the classical definition of trolling, a deliberately inflammatory choice that prods at the edges of definitions. On the other hand, what's your favorite Christmas movie is an inherently trivial exercise with non-existent stakes. So maybe to answer that question, we need to take it a step further. Why do people troll these conversations, and what do we gain or lose if we take the answers authentically? I think the answer there is in belonging. Christmas is a complicated holiday. It is both a high holy day for most of the Christian faith, competing with Easter in its significance, and it is also the central holiday of the secular world. Of course, that relationship is not coincidental, the one following from the other, and neither was always the case. The significance of Christmas in Christianity has fluctuated over the centuries, and the secular observance is derived from the Christian tradition, explicitly a secularization of the holiday. Thus, the two holidays called Christmas are codependent, nigh inseparable, with iconography and traditions constantly interchanging to the point that for many, the two are the same. Christmas is monolithic in our culture in a way few things are even capable of being, and people have interesting relationships with monoliths. Cultural monoliths are things that persist beyond the scope of a human lifetime, binding generations together. They are things that are so ingrained into the world that they feel like they've always been there, that they are self-evident. Now, it's not a novel observance that traditions tie people together across generations, but in this case, I think that's maybe missing the trees for the forest. Don't get me wrong, the big picture is important, feeling connected to history is important, but it's maybe sacrificing the immediate value for the more poetic answer. I want to make an argument here in favor of tradition without strictly arguing for traditionalism. Because many traditional societal stances are harmful, hurtful, deliberately exclusionary, punitive, and oppressive, there is sometimes an understandable instinct to reject everything even superficially related. Traditionalism is the argument that things are per se good because they are traditional, again, another tautology. And that's not what I'm saying here. I don't think traditions or ritual are in any way above criticism, but I think it's good to have traditions, to have rituals because of what they do for the individual. Ritual is valuable because ritual is an outward signifier of stability. In order to observe ritual, particularly ones tied to a specific time of year, then you need to be stable enough to keep track of the year, and you need the time and space to observe the ritual. Thus, the ritual observance is a performance of stability. When people on Twitter talk about self-care, this is often the instinct that they are pointing at. Small, personal rituals that reclaim time from inhumane systems. I am going to stand in this warm shower until the hot water runs out, and there is nothing my boss can do to stop me. Humans are very bad at experiencing time. A year has no innate meaning to our bodies, and traditions help anchor us. As many people have learned during the pandemic of 2020, life without temporal anchors gets weird and depressing. It is not psychologically good for you. They are things to look forward to, things to look back on, and large social traditions provide a common reference point for us to calibrate ourselves around. And in our society, Christmas is that monolithic reference point. This is where we get into the dueling desires of the human psyche, the need to be different, unique, independent, but also welcome and accepted. The want for space that we define, but for that space to be part of a whole. The instinct to reject social ritual paired with a desire to see oneself reflected in social ritual. People counterpick Christmas movies because they don't want to just adopt the hegemonic Christmas. They don't want Christmas to just be served to them. They want Christmas, but on their own terms. So should the troll answers be excluded? Should the counterpicks be ignored? Well, in a way it doesn't matter. It's not the movie that's actually important. It's the argument itself that's the ritual. It's a way of staking a claim to a shared social experience. This is a social negotiation process, a series of pressures within and without the definitions of society, pushing to create or deny the space for existence, the space to belong. It's a negotiation far older than Die Hard, far older than movies, older than Christmas, and it'll be around long after all of us are gone. So, from all of us at Folding Ideas and Film Joy, whether it's Die Hard or It's a Wonderful Life, Batman Returns or A Christmas Carol, may your ritual debate of what's really a Christmas movie be filled with cheer.